Just a minute ago, I finished The Word for World is Forest by Ursula K Le Guin, one of the books in the Hainish cycle. Ursula K Le Guin is one of my favorite authors. She always delivers. I really enjoy this read. This is the book that has famously inspired Avatar. Avatar was not adapted directly from this book, but it was certainly an inspiration. And if you decide to read this fabulous story, I think you will pick up on some of the similarities. Having said that, this book, I think, has so much more depth than Avatar did. This is not a love story. This is not a story of a human savior. This is a story that is highly nuanced. It's a story of a planet. Terrans, or Earthmen, call that planet New Tahiti. The planet's proper name is, I believe, Achia. Achians are the residents of that planet. They come from human stock, but they have evolved quite differently. Their visual appearance is much different from the Terrans. They're much smaller, they're covered in fur, and their mental capabilities differ as well. One of the main things that separates them is the fact that they can dream while they're awake. The Terrans feel that they're just lazy as they kind of doze off. The Terrans come to this planet, the New Tahiti, to them to colonize it, to strip it of its resources. They start cutting down the forest. But the forest is the planet. The word for world is forest. We call Earth our planet, but it is also our biggest connection to it, the soil. We call soil Earth. They call the planet forest, but also forest is their biggest connection. So humans coming to cut down the forest is a problem. The society of Achians is also completely fragmented. They have no political groups. They do not fight any wars. They don't know what murder is, at least until Earthmen come. So these Terrans, not only are they stripping the planet from its resources, they are also subjugating Achians in the worst way. They are raping the women. The men are basically slaves. There's one Achian who connects with an Earthman, a scientist, learns language, and he becomes the conduit to a revolution. His wife is raped and she dies. All this takes place very early in the book. What happens next is very interesting. This book was a fabulous read, often thought-provoking, always interesting. There is a story that is captivating. There is a ton of philosophy of Ursula K Le Guin's being told in a very succinct manner. This is quite a short book. In my edition, I think 190 pages. The story is beautifully weaved in a wise manner, without preaching, without telling. Ursula K Le Guin shows us our humanity with its faults, as well as what we can be at our best. It is part of Ursula K Le Guin's Hainish cycle. I think it comes after Left Hand of Darkness, but it doesn't really matter. They can be read just about in any order. There are some connections between the books. The greater world is expanded as the story progresses in some ways. Ansible is introduced. It is talked about in this book as well. Ansible is the ability for humans that live on all these different planets and travel between them to communicate instantly. It changes, obviously, the nature of their culture. So a very interesting idea that Ursula K Le Guin introduced. It has been adopted by other authors. In any case, this book was interesting, well written. It's not my favorite Le Guin, but I recommend it strongly. I think it's a great introduction to her writing. It's got a lot of her ideas, and it has a story that you can easily follow. Each chapter switches perspective a little bit. So sometimes we're in the Terran perspective, sometimes we're in the Aegean perspective. Just a beautiful story. There's action, there's adventure, there's philosophy, there are things to ponder, to think about. It's just a fantastic mix. I think it's, again, Ursula K Le Guin at her best. It's very engaging. Fabulous book, well written, a Hugo Award winner for a good reason. I really enjoyed this book. Left Hand of Darkness is a classic. The Dispossessed, of course, is many people's favorite book. The Late of Heaven is maybe my number one read of Le Guin's, and I recommend that one as a first introduction. This one would be the other one that I would say is a great way to get into reading Le Guin. Reconnaissance World is another one that I read. I didn't like that one as much. It's her first foray into the Hainish series. So in any case, this book was beautiful. It is full of violence, exploration, and exploitation. And it introduces us to characters that span the spectrum from psychopath on one end to a hero character, I suppose, on the other, reluctant hero. Just a great, great book. People have, of course, blamed Ursula K Le Guin for not giving women in some of her books a bigger role. And I think this might be a great example of where that is true. Women are really marginalized in this book. And that is, I suppose, interesting to think about. But Ursula K Le Guin, I think, in her writing was not trying to show what the future role of women in society could be, but wanted to highlight the problems that she was still seeing currently in her life. So fabulous book. I recommend it strongly. I just finished it, and I had to just turn the camera on and talk about it for a bit. Read it. Let me know which one is your favorite Ursula K Le Guin. Have you read The Word for World is Forest? What did you think of it? Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.